Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I wanted to talk about the newest addition to the top lane rune setup, which is bone plating. A lot of people have been having issues with bone plating. There have been multiple pros going on record saying things like bone plating makes top lane too boring, bone plating reinforces poke champions as being the strongest champions in the lane, and I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit and give my thoughts on where bone plating is right now and where it potentially should be in the future. Now, first and foremost, I actually don't have an issue with bone plating. I think, if anything, it's a relatively solid counterpick to certain styles of champions. So, specifically, bone plating is good against all-in champions. Someone who's going to go all-in at you, try to use everything, and either kill you, force a summoner spell, force you to burn potions, but basically who wants these decisive engagements as opposed to someone who will just kind of poke at you from afar. So, good examples of these are champions like Kled, who kind of wants to land the bear trap and just go all in on you. Garen is another good example. He wants to run up, hit you with the decisive strike, and then spin. Darius is a big fan of these sort of longer term fights where he just wants to be stacking hemorrhage on you. And so these are the kind of champions that bone plating is good against, and as it should be, because bone plating does it gives you a lot of bonus resistances, and it makes it a lot harder for people to all in you. That's kind of its intended niche. And in that scenario, I think it's functioning fine because it gives you a way to deal with these sort of all-in champions, and I think it has applicability even outside of just top lane. You can take it in the mid lane if you're worried about an assassin. You can take it in the bottom lane if they're playing an all-in lane. I think that that's where bone plating's strengths lie, and it should be good there. I think it would be really weird, honestly, if bone plating was significantly better at everything all at once, was good against poke, was good against all-in. That would be weird. Now, the thing about bone plating is that the counterplay to it requires you to play your champion in a slightly different way than normal. If I'm playing Kled and I know they have bone plating, I can't just throw the bear trap, run at them, and try to hit them with everything, because a lot of my damage is going to get mitigated, and then the enemy champion has the opportunity to respond in kind, assuming I'm not also running bone plating. You can't do that in that scenario. What you need to be doing is basically poking off the bone plating on your enemy opponent, and then walking away, waiting for it to wear off, and then punishing them for its long cooldown. Because unlike a lot of the other runes that you have in the current system, where you have things like Second Wind or Iron Skin, those kinds of things, those are always on. You always have the benefits from those runes, no matter what is happening. Now, bone plating has a cooldown, and a fairly substantial cooldown too. I believe it's something like 40 seconds. And that means that there's a long period of time where your opponent first has a rune that is doing nothing for them. It is not giving them any benefits whatsoever. It is sitting around taking up space. And second, it means that they don't have the active available for a future all-in. So to continue on with my Kled example, if I'm Kled and I know my opponent's running bone plating, I'm going to throw my bear trap at them, hit them. I don't even need to get the pull at the end. I just want to hit them. So that way they've taken champion damage, bone plating procs, and then walk away. Wait for it to wear off, and then you have probably a solid minute or so, little less than a minute, but about a minute, where you can make these all-in trades happen when your opponent is significantly weaker than you because you still have your full rune setup and they don't. That's pretty strong. Now, I will say that it's significantly easier for, especially some of the champions I play, to get rid of bone plating. If I'm playing somebody like Riven, how exactly do I knock off bone plating on the enemy laner without going all in? That's significantly harder to do. However, I think at the same time that that's kind of, I think, an intended weakness of these champions. That if you're really good at all-ins, you probably also don't have the ability to remove a rune from your opponent in advance. You don't have a way to hit them in advance of a fight actually starting. And so it just kind of reinforces that niche and makes them a little bit stronger. Now, where bone plating has problems, I think, is its application on poke champions in the top lane, like Vladimir or Jace, or even someone like Quinn. It's really hard to even get in range of these champions when you're playing a melee champion, especially in the first place. It's incredibly difficult because they have so much damage that they can drop all on you at the same time. You have to walk through their auto attacks, and once you finally get there, they have a way to disengage. Now, these champions are where bone plating kind of has issues because they have the ability to kite you out, and by the time you finally reach them, they have the damage resistance. Or even if you're lucky and you found the perfect all-in engagement, I waited in a bush, they came close, I jump on them, bone plating's there. You don't have the opportunity to knock it off in advance. And even if you get that surprise like I was just talking about, you pop out a surprise, you hit them once, and then you either continue with your all-in, which will be doing reduced damage, or there's not really anything else you can do, because you have to hit them and then walk away. And there's just not a whole lot of win-win solutions there in that scenario. And that's the one situation I think where bone plating potentially has the ability to be balanced or might be a little bit more fixable, because it just, as is usually the case, ranged champions end up being a lot better with things than other champions do, and it makes it really hard to actually deal with that. So I don't know what the solution would be. I don't think you want to make a rune melee only. That would just feel really bad, especially for people who swap between ranged and melee champions all the time. Some like a bot lane and a support main who alternates between the two. Well, if I'm playing Alistar and then I switch to Quinn, or I guess not Quinn, Vayne or somebody, you know, it would make a lot, it wouldn't be good to have a rune that just doesn't do anything. But I don't know what the advantage would be. You could make a ranged melee split, so that way the cooldown on bone plating is significantly higher. Potentially the damage reduction isn't as high if you're a ranged champion as opposed to a melee champion. Something along those lines I think would go in decent ways towards making the rune a little bit more bearable. But I think in general, it has a solid niche, it has good usage, and I think it's strong against the kinds of champions that it needs to be strong against. So I'm hoping that it doesn't get significantly nerfed or changed because of it. I think it's in a good spot. I just think it needs a little bit, a few tweaks to fix the outlying cases, and I think it's in a decent spot. So, but those are just my opinions. Go ahead and let me know what you guys are thinking of bone plating down in the comment section below. Would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well, and if you're looking for more Grab the Lantern content, you can check out my blog, linked down in the description below. I upload an article every single day for your enjoyment. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I will talk to you all later.